Ever wonder what really goes down behind the scenes at Amazon? Today, we're diving into wild stories and secrets from the inside. Stay tuned.
Tom, do you know who you're podcasting with right now? Do you know who this man is?
He's, Damien.
He is none other than the most listened to podcast.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is that a
that
good
we
thing?
have.
And here I thought I was the most interesting one.
The most interesting man in the world. I don't know his podcast, but when I do, I do 2 crazy scoops.
Oh, man. The man who needs no introduction, Damien Coates and Bosses. And yet we give him an introduction. Damien Coates and Bosses. How's it going? How you feeling?
It's going good.
I gotta check who has what input real quick. Can you talk real quick?
Hey.
Okay. That's disgusting.
Does that work?
Hey,
You gotta clean that mic now. Oh,
I covered.
I got input 1.
Okay, Aaron's input 2. Aaron's not with us right now because he is actually being a hospitable person and making us a meal.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we told him we didn't need food, he went ahead and bought food anyway.
Oh, okay, wait.
I don't know who said it because I was told there was gonna be food provided. That's the only reason I'm here.
Me too. So, Damien, welcome back.
Thanks,
You know, the people want to hear your voice speak through a microphone. What do you have to say to them?
Hello. I don't know what else to say. I feel
It's
like,
been 3 years since you've been on the podcast. You're one of like our first guests.
yep, survived the pandemic, survived the COVID,
That's good.
a lot of stuff.
So, how did the pandemic change you, Damien? What hobbies did you take up? Let's say that people, they lost track of you 3 years ago, and now they met up with you again. What would you tell them?
Where are they now?
Where are they now, Damien? You still play
Same.
guitar?
Not as much, but yeah, I've been playing instruments here and there. But I think just career changes. That's the only thing that's really happened. Everything else has been the same. So,
And then we have in the other corner, Tom Laughlin, the least listened to episode.
Who's been here like 4 different times.
oh, he's like, if you add them together, it's more. If you add them together,
Yeah, actually, I didn't think about that, but you have a good point.
Yeah.
Let's actually add it up.
Oh, okay. Well.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm
We
going
don't have
to,
that-
you don't kid with me, Tom. I'm going to do it. I am going to do it.
it's happening.
It's happening, yeah. I don't really know because I have to still make this interesting. So, let's see, Aaron. If you could ask him anything right now, what would you ask him?
Would you like to try the one-chip challenge?
I would love to try that.
You have to do it at the end though, because you might get sick.
The 1-chip challenge.
Do you know what the 1-chip challenge is?
I don't know if
Yes.
it's because I'm Mexican or because I like spicy food, or it could be because I look Indian. It could be like that because I like spicy food too.
Oh man, Aaron, I'm not sure if this is gonna work without you. I don't know what to say.
Aaron's the one that interjects a lot.
Aaron's the one that interjects a lot. Tom, what do you know about HVAC?
All I know about HVAC is that I'm the only one small enough to fit in crawl spaces and attics.
You again are quite the opposite of Damien, who is
A giant. Let's just
giant
summarize.
amongst men.
For the people that don't know me or have never seen me in person, yeah, I'm a giant.
You're taller
6'5".
than Aaron.
6'5". 6'5", 260. All fat.
All muscle. Yeah.
And that's what pandemic does to you, man. That's what pandemic does to you.
Yeah, what
Just
was your
eating all the
snack
time.
of choice during pandemic?
My snack of choice. See, I worked at Amazon.
Oh,
we don't get the credit. But yeah, I worked at Amazon for like a year and a half.
Uh-huh.
And the majority of that was night shift. So
Yeah.
the only thing out there was Jack in the Box and McDonald's.
Yeah.
So, and that's the only two things that were open because they're only open 24 hours.
Oh,
and
I got
we were
another
night
one.
shift, so we
I
had to
got
do it
one
all the
for
time.
you. Raising Cane's. They're open till like 2 a.m.
Oh, really? Now they're open to 2 a.m. I thought
They
they were
were
open to
back
like 1. Probably because pandemic. They're trying to get some money. I don't know.
A lot of people hear a lot of terrible things about Amazon. What was your experience working for them?
Amazon. I just think the biggest thing for me is like the monotony of it. Just like doing the same thing every single night, especially when I was working the 12-hour shifts, just doing the same thing in the same little area, same station, 12 hours. It would get super, super hot inside there because like the station you were at had like a platform light with like a spotlight for the bins and everything that you had to pick stuff out of. It would get super, super hot. And then even it sucked in the winter because it'd be 25, 30 degrees because it was nighttime out in the middle of the desert out there. And then you'd go inside and then you'd be sweating. Like you'd be like, there's be times like I would have like a flannel and a sweater outside, and then I'd have to take off everything and pretty much just have my t-shirt on inside because it would get hot in there sometimes, even with the fans and the heater on there. But all that, like the machines running, all that stuff, it would get super hot inside there.
What did the security look like getting into the building?
I don't know how the security is where you worked, but yeah, the security was like the turnstiles.
Yeah.
So you'd have to scan your badge because like if you would ask for time off longer than like 3-4 days, for us it would be like a week and a half that we wouldn't work, or almost 2 weeks. And the badges, after like I think 5 or 6 days of inactivity, they'd say, like it wouldn't work anymore. So then you have to go.
So that there was no
you try
security
like 2-3
breaches.
times, and then you have to go to the security desk and be like, hey, like I work here, but it makes it seem like I don't work here, but I work here. Can you fix my badge? So they'd have to rescan everything. Sometimes give you a new badge because you were on vacation. That's the one thing that was stupid.
So the place that I worked, we had to watch the orientation video, and it was preparing you for an active shooter in the building. And they showed it as if you would be in a place that had those turnstile things so that people couldn't get in. But the one I went to, you just scanned the door, walked in, and it was just open air all the way through. So I was like, oh, man. And even the side door, it was open all the time, so anybody could get in there.
Yeah, ours was that turnstile thing because we were the warehouse, because we had like all the products inside. Literally, like I think each floor was about the size of a football field or a little bit shorter. Mm-hmm. And there was 4 floors. That's one thing that I didn't like. It was good because I worked out and was walking a lot because they had these things called tote runners. Because each floor has 16 machines that are taking the boxes to the packing area. So we'd pick the products out of like off of the robots, because they had these robots that would pick them up in little bins and carry them from like the center of it. Because like I said, it was a huge floor and it was all caged off, and there was huge bins, probably like 12 feet tall. And then take it to your station, and you'd grab whatever products it show on the screen, put them in these bins, and then send them off. And there had to be guys that were tote runners, which would get the carts, like these huge carts, and fill them with stacks of those totes, like those bins, like the plastic
tote
bins.
Bags.
So, and each one, I think it was 10 or 11 to a stack, and you can load anywhere from 10 to 12 stacks on there. So it'd be 500-600 pounds. You have to be pushing down like the floor, down the hallway in the floor, on the floor. Sometimes if you were on the 4th floor, I think it was the 2nd floor where they had the majority of the totes. So you'd have to be putting that cart into a service elevator, sending it down, run down the stairs, go grab it, go get some totes, come back, send it up, make sure you got there before it stopped, because anytime you'd stop and people would see that it was filled with carts, like they would literally open it, take it, put their empty ones in, and take off.
Oh, man.
So that's one thing that was, I mean, I lost some decent weight because like I was running. I did that for probably like 5-6 months, every single night for 3-4 nights a week, 12 hours. It was good because there was a group of us, there were like 7 or 8 of us, that we were the only ones that did it for like 6 months straight, because nobody else could do it because they couldn't last after past 3 hours, 4 hours.
Yeah, that's what I had noticed too. Everybody that I started with had quit by at least the first week.
Yeah, because especially out there with the warehouse, because it's so, like I said, it's so demanding, and you have to be so, you got to keep up with the robots pretty much, and keep up that productivity. Especially because when I first started, they still had same day, or like overnight stuff and same day. So we would start around probably, well, we'd start at 6:30 in the at night in the evening, and we didn't get out till 7. So if anybody that ordered anytime that night, we had to get that out by, I think, 5:30, 6 o'clock is when they would send those trucks to where you used to work.
Yeah.
And then that's when you guys would like distribute all the boxes for
Yeah.
the drivers that day. But yeah, it was crazy.
I saw this meme and it said every time you click the same day delivery, you start a chain reaction of human suffering until that package arrives at you.
Yeah, pretty much. Hey, that's how it was. Because like I said, it was a lot. You got to keep up with the robots pretty much. So we had to keep everything going. And the thing that was the worst was that there was literally an employee that was meant to, if that package was behind, because like I said, we had those bins, and it would be 5 bins per station, and you would try to fill it. Again, there was like, I think probably like 20, 30 gallon storage containers, pretty much. That's what they were like. And we'd have to fill them at least halfway with products. And imagine, people that buy like a coloring book or like a book or something like that. Like, it takes a lot of items to be able to fill it up. So we'd have to try to fill it up as much as we can. But sometimes that employee would be walking around and be like, hey, like, can you send that to packaging? Like, we need to get it out, like, as of, like, 2 hours ago. So we'd rush them even more. So.
Yeah, that's are you ready to eat, Aaron?
I'm just letting y'all know the food is ready.
Oh, okay. Well, do you want to eat right now or come back, or do you want to keep going?
We can keep going.
Okay. Because that's what... Actually... Okay, Tom and Aaron are going to eat. I still have some questions. I got to pick your brain about this. So, when you... What was I going to ask you? Yeah, we both work night shift. The interesting thing about doing distribution, though, is that you had different jobs you could work. About 4 different stations you could work at. So it was monotonous, but not as monotonous as doing the same thing every night.
Yeah, and I think because, like, some other people that I know that work the distribution, and like even you, like, there was more interaction. There's more interaction between like human beings in general, because like, even though you guys had different like working stations and everything, you guys still had people around you. Like I said, when you're at a station, there's a machine, making noise during your whole shift right next to you. The closest person is on the other side of the machine, which is about 8 feet away from you. But again, you're trying to, even if you try to talk to them, one, you can't really talk to them because you're trying to keep up with the rate that they have you at. And if you are fast enough, or if there's breaks, because sometimes that would be really cool. Like if somebody drops something, then we'd have to wait, because maybe one of the robots would run it over, or they'd like stop the floor, and we'd have to wait till whenever they picked them up. So that was kind of a break, and you'd be able to talk to the person on the other side of that station, because it would be 8 machines on each side of the floor, and 2 people per station, and 1 person on each side of that station. So you could try to talk to that person, but it was very difficult because of the noises that it was making. You're trying to keep up rate, and like besides peak season, which was holiday season, whatever. After that, and even before that, we wouldn't be very busy. We'd make, maybe have 1 person per station. So 8 people, and the other stations are, I think, like 10, 15 feet space at minimum. So you didn't really have any interaction with people. And I think that's the biggest thing with people that work at the warehouses. Like, I mean, now you've kind of seen, like, people are putting, like, TikToks and stuff, and you'll see people, or at least I've seen people that, like, work at Amazon doing the same job that I used to do. And they're kind of recording stuff here and there, like just trying to entertain themselves, or like making videos or whatever. But when I first started, it was super, super strict. Like, you couldn't have headphones in. You couldn't have phone.
We couldn't have headphones either, though. That was more for safety reasons, I guess.
Well, and I understand that. Like, even now, technically, I probably shouldn't have, both headphones in, at least one of them out. But yeah, when I first started, it was really crazy. Like they even had lockers that we'd put our phones in, we put all that stuff because like they would give you your own locker. And when I first started, they'd give you a locker and you could put all your things inside there, and you had to put your phone and all that stuff. And then they would give you a number to give to your family, like as an emergency number if they needed to contact you. So since again, they track everything, like they know what station you're at, like when you're working. Like if you go and use the restroom and you last more than I think like 5 minutes, it like starts a timer. And you had only I think like an hour the whole night for breaks or any of that stuff. So like let's say, I remember one time there was one guy that, I think had gone to Jack in the Box or something, and whatever he ate really messed his stomach up. So he was going, and then they pulled him aside later, like right before the shift ended, and they're like, "Why did you go over, this time?" He's like, if you want to know the truth, he's like, I was in the restroom the majority of the time. He's like, because, my stomach was messed up, but they can track all that stuff. That's why, even people that you can have probably seen or heard like on the internet that people are like, oh, you can't, Amazon even tracks you when you use a bathroom and all that stuff. And it's kind of, to a certain extent, it's true. Cause like I said, once the computer marks like, I think like 3 or 5 minutes of inactivity, like you not scanning anything, not doing anything, it starts, like timing you. It won't record anything. I mean, because there is cameras right there just watching, that watches the station just in case. But yeah, that's one thing that was difficult. Like you couldn't really you didn't have your phone, and then you didn't even have very much time, like I said, to go to the restroom and stuff like that. So you kind of had to be quick, which, I mean, I understand some jobs, especially that one, like they're trying to get out everything. That's why they had that reputation of like same day, next day, because they kind of put those circumstances there. But yeah, it was difficult doing that because you had to kind of figure out like time things and even wait until your break sometimes to, get water or to use a restroom or something like that. So that was the only thing that was kind of difficult. But.
Yeah. Well, having that level of scrutiny on you, though, how do you think that affects a person?
I think it is crazy. Like, it would have a huge effect on somebody, and that's why I think why so many people never last into such a, huge turnaround for Amazon in general, because so many people that are going, like I said, too, like, you have to deal with that. Kind of being rushed, like, hey, you need to be on top of this. You need to keep rate. You need to get out this many products, in an hour. You need to do this. You need to do that. On top of not having any human interaction except for the 10, 15 minutes you have for break. And even then, like, the majority of the time, especially, like, for myself that I did that tote running, if you were behind, you would go to lunch late and come back early because you wanted to catch up because, people... especially people that would try to keep up with the rate that they told us of products you had to get out in a certain hour, they would be pushing out these bins really fast. And each machine could only hold 4 stacks of 10 or 11, whatever it was, and they can go through that in 5 minutes. And, if there's 8 machines with 4, stacks each, and that's about like 32, and you only have a cart that has 10, you're already behind naturally.
It's built so that you're already behind, so that your production is already something that you're stressed about, so you're going to push it.
Yeah, so, for that, in terms of, like, leaving late and then coming early back from your break, so you didn't even have very much time, especially because, like, I worked the 12 hours. We had 3 breaks. The first one was a half an hour, and the next 2, I think, were 15 minutes. So it'll give you that full hour. But yeah, I think that was, the first one was from 10 to 10:30. But like I said, if you were doing that, sometimes I wouldn't leave till like 10, go eat something real quick and be back by, 10:25, 10:20 sometimes. Only have 10 minutes to eat real quick or, do something. And it was even more tiring because, like, as a person, and a lot of people know that, when you rest and for 5-10 minutes, but you're in a rush, it's kind of hard to, actually get that rest. You feel more tired because your body's barely starting to, you know, die down and relax, and then you got to go back, jump back up and do that. Or even the people that were on the stations, like I said, you had to. When I first started, it was I think 400 to 425 products an hour. That put 100. It would about 100 items every 15 minutes. And some of that, sometimes it was easy because you'd have little stuff, but sometimes there'd be like cases of water or cases of soda, you know, and you
Sometimes
have to pull it out
exploded too.
You know.
Did you ever have a break on you?
Yeah, there had been times where like there'd be a spill and like we're supposed to report it.
You don't want to stop your time.
Sometimes
they have
like,
to come and soak it up, right?
Yeah, but sometimes more because I knew some of the guys that did all the problem solving and stuff like that, I would have to be like, hey, like take it out, write down or like text them the pod number for what it was, and then they would like go back later and clean it or try to pull it off of the floor and clean it, you know, sometime that night.
Yeah.
But I would take out whatever was left from the product, like you said, like if it was water or soda. That was the biggest thing, like sodas or like laundry detergents would break.
Yeah.
So you just get as whatever you could and put it in one of those bins and just put it off to the side.
You hope it wasn't a toxic chemical.
And that's the thing, like they like there's so many chemicals that you would deal with, even like some laundry detergents and everything are very dangerous, or even cleaners. And it'd spill and they'd be like, oh, we have gloves. Like, okay, but these aren't, like literally these gloves soak up whatever liquid, you know, like those gloves that they used to give us,
they
would
weren't
soak up anything.
necessarily
they weren't very
like gardening gloves because those are thicker. These are like, and they weren't even thick. They were just thin gloves that would keep it from your hands peeling because you're handling so much, dry materials.
Yeah, it was cut resistant. That's what those gloves were. It wasn't for like, you know, liquids and stuff like that, because it's a completely different gloves that you need, because like you said, like it's soaked through and you'd still be able to feel the worst. Like you have to deal with that. Then until your break, you had to work with gloves that were wet and sticky if you did laundry detergent or something like that, because you didn't want to take the time away from, if you had to use a restroom or something like that, because like I said, you had about an hour that they give you each night that would be timed on the computer. And you didn't want to waste that time just going to get gloves, because that was another thing too. There was only one floor or two floors that had those glove machines. So you have to go all this back corner. So you'd have to come all the way back to where the stairs were, go down, wait. And sometimes there was a line of people waiting to get gloves, because like they had gloves and a bunch of different things in those vending machines. Get gloves or whatever else you needed, go all the way back up, go back to your station. It was such a big waste of time. So it kind of sucked.
Yeah. The reason why people would quit too is because when you give someone an impossible task and ask them to kind of piece it out and get it done, it's kind of a little frustrating. So what was your process of trying to figure out? You knew that you were going to fail, but what was your process of just hammering through it?
No, and I think it was just figuring out kind of how you can complete the task is, you know, as close as possible to what they wanted, because some nights it was possible, but other nights, you know, like I said, if people were especially when like we knew what nights there would be new, you know, employees, because they'd be like, oh, you know, there's all this stuff on the floor, but because they wouldn't put it in, because there was people that were putting the products into those bins, and then obviously, which is what I did for a little bit, and then there were, on the other end, there was people that were picking those items to send them to packing. So those people, sometimes if they didn't put it in the right way or fully push in like cases of water or anything, since those, you know, robots literally just pick it up and they go 10, 15 miles an hour, just going when they pick up speed, stuff would just like fall out completely. Or when they'd be turning, stuff would just fly out, and you just see like a case of soda and just like splat on the floor, and then they'd have to shut down the floor, clean everything, turn everything there. And that's one thing that, you know, slow down productivity too for us, you know, for us that we're trying to keep up, you know, whatever rate that they told us for the night. You know, even if we're close, that would completely knock us out the water, and then we pretty much wouldn't do anything else the rest of the night. We'd just kind of take our time, because we're like, we're never going to make it.
Yeah.
I wasted an hour and a half, you know.
But even that, you've done, like, what you would think is not making it is actually a huge number in production. Even failing is a lot of packages getting through.
No, and that's one thing that I didn't realize, because again, like I've always been a person that's like super, like a better work ethic. I've always had a better work ethic and really fast whenever I've done anything. So you know, I would be like, oh well, I'm really behind, and then I'd look at the boards, and then people would have like half the amount that I had, or you know, there was even one person that, you know, I didn't know how she stayed past a month, but she had been there for a few months. She had all these, like, you know, write-ups because of all this stuff she was doing. And I was like, how are you still here? And people that I know were working better than you, faster than you, and all that stuff, you know, they either quit or got fired, you know.
They burn them out.
And which, you know, I later on, after, like I said, after those 6 months of me doing that, running around, running up and down the stairs and everything, I felt the same way. I was like, either something changes or I go, you know, and move to a different department or do something else, which I did. And I got to the point where I in that year and a half or a little bit more, I literally did everything in that warehouse, from packing to picking to stowing, everything. Like, that's one thing that's why I say, you know, it was very monotonous, because once I'd get, you know, you do the same thing every single night. And once I would get bored of it, or it was too easy for me, I'd move somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And then it would last a week or two, and then it'd get too easy, and I'd move somewhere else. And because I was making decent money, I was like, you know, it's pretty easy.
Well, that's how they get you.
But then, yeah, that's what I got to the point where I'm like, you know what, like, I don't think. Well, I mean, good thing is I was going to school for, you know, nursing at that time, so I had a plan in mind, and I was going to do something different in the future. So I think that's probably more of why I don't have as much resentment towards working there, because I knew eventually I was going to leave either way. I wasn't going to stay there. But I do see how some people like that didn't have anything else. That was kind of the only job they had, because of the pandemic kind of forced them into that situation, because stuff was closing. You know, I can see how they had more resentment towards it, because, like, you know, if that's the only thing you have for at least next year or two or something more, you know, I'd kind of resent it too.
They'll take anybody too. You see all kinds of people go through that door.
That's the bad thing. It kind of take anybody sometimes, and
I see people freaking out on each other. It's crazy.
And I'm like, are you sure you're able to work here? And like, they told us about security, and how did they let you in?
Yeah.
But I mean, which I understand, you know, never judge a book by its cover. I get that too. But there are some people, after they talk to me and tell me some stuff, I'd be like,
don't murder me.
Never leave my backpack or anything valuable around you, please.
Yeah, I used to work with a guy, and he was like, oh, I stole a whole turkey from Walmart for Thanksgiving. I'm like, oh, dude, don't take my stuff.
No, and that's the thing that's worse too. I'm like, if you steal something like decent, I mean, I get a turkey, I guess, like if you're, you know, financially, you know, struggling,
you want people
and you
to
want
steal
some
turkeys.
food. I'm not saying people should steal turkeys. You know, if anything, steal a ham. That's a little bit more valuable. It's a little bit more expensive. The other day we went and we got a ham, and I was like, oh my
I wish
goodness.
I had stolen this.
I was like, man, I'm in the wrong business, man. I need to get one of those like 1970s, 1980s vans with just like, you know, that's all purple and has me riding a freaking unicorn with a rainbow in the back or something like that, you know, kind of have that, and then sell some speakers at the back of that van, or some ham. I'll sell ham and turkeys.
Nice.
That's what I'll do.
So this has been about half an hour. We're going to take a break and cut into another segment. But before we do, somehow we've procured ourselves an audience. Does anybody have any questions for Damien about the Amazon business? Tom?
Question.
Tom's always got questions. He's a very inquisitive fellow.
I feel like I'm at a basketball press conference, just like, okay, you.
The game is great. I'm sorry about my performance, but next year.
You know, we tried to do the best we could, you know what I'm saying? That's all we could do. We could just try. Huh?
Wait, what? You got to speak into the mic. Did you ever get written up while you were there?
Did I ever get written up when I was there? You know, I'm just here because I don't want to get sued. No, I did not, because again, like I said, I was a decent worker, and plus you're supposed to know all the people, all the management. You're supposed to be good with management before you mess up, so that when you mess up, they're like, you'll let it slide.
It's easy to get good with them too, because they deal with so many people that are.
And it's funny too, because like when when you start working at Amazon, they kind of just throw you in. They don't give you too much training.
Oh, dude, can I play something for you? I always feel like my life is a movie. And I did the training, right?
Yeah.
And they would blast music over there.
Yeah.
They listened to the same playlist over and over. Did they do that with you?
We didn't even have a playlist. There wasn't any speakers. And like I said, because of those machines and because they wanted productivity and they didn't want anybody distracted. Same reason we didn't have phones. They didn't have any music really playing in the background unless you were close to where the like management station was. They had like a small speaker, like a Bluetooth speaker that they would bring in, and they would play music because, you know, they had brought in that speaker in, but we couldn't have anything else on there.
Yeah, I called you the first day that I was working there, I think. But as I walked through the doors, this is the song they were blasting just from the intro of it. I'm walking into Amazon.
And everybody in Amazon just slowly was rising. Then just smoke and purple lights everywhere.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So that was my introduction to Amazon. It felt like a movie. That would be the
Prince was there?
Prince was there? Dude, they had him stolen boxes. I don't know how. I think he's been dead for 10 years. They somehow reanimated him in robot form.
You know how they say, oh, it's a box supposedly somewhere in the Dominican Republic,
yeah,
or Puerto Rico, or something like that. Prince is somewhere alive in Amazon here in Tucson, Arizona. Please call 1-800-SAVE-PRINCE.
Save Prince from Amazon. Yeah,
Because
we don't
he's been
care about
stuck
the
there.
working conditions. We just want Prince to be released.
We just want Prince back. That's all we need. All right? That's all we need.
Prince consciousness.
We just need a little bit more Purple Rain. A little bit more.
He's like, no, I don't do that anymore. I make these packages rain now.
So if you ever get a purple box, you know, from Amazon
that says
here
help
in
me.
Tucson, Arizona,
Help me,
just
written
know,
in purple.
written in purple, Sharpie. Just know, please call 1-800-SAVE-PRINCE. We're signing petitions.
This one goes out to you, Prince.
Moment of silence for our Amazon Prince.
Amazon Prince.
But yeah, that's interesting. I remember I don't know if I called you or you called me.
I don't know, but I was like, I just got free coffee from Amazon. This is amazing. And then lo and behold, you pay for the coffee somehow.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as free coffee.
There's no such thing as, it's, indentured servitude or, as they say.
Okay. So if Amazon could just rip your consciousness from your body and make you work 24/7, do you think they'd do that?
Do you think
And do you think people would sell themselves for it?
I think any company would do that to a certain extent.
So if you opened up a business, you'd be up for that.
That's the reason that I wouldn't start a business, because like that's the bad thing that a lot of people don't realize. Like a lot of people that start businesses and everything,
you gotta ask someone to do your job but for cheaper.
Kind of.
Hey, so you're gonna do what I'm supposed to do. I'm gonna sit in the corner over here, and you're gonna get paid $12 an hour.
I'm gonna make millions. I'm gonna go to space, but you're gonna get $13 an hour. That sound good? Yeah. And then all of us dummies in the back, like, I'll do it for 11.
Yeah, everyone's applauding in the back.
I'll do it for 11. I'll do it for 11. Someone in the background is like,
just give me free shoes and
I'll
free coffee.
I'll do it for a sandwich. Like that's the bad thing. There's always gonna be somebody that'll do it for cheaper. But yeah, I feel like any company or business will look for that. That's why they love using robots and all this technology, because it's nonstop. It doesn't need to take a break. It doesn't need to use the restroom. It doesn't need to eat anything. As long as it's plugged in.
Oh, you got a question here? Give him the mic.
So, what's like their hiring standards? Are they pretty flexible with people missing, or do they fire them right away? I know they need workers.
I think. Well, I
don't think there is a hiring because so many people just leave.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it, because like there's so many people going in and out of those doors, applying and doing all this stuff. Because again,
be a QC monitor somewhere, right?
well, there is some people that are that have been fired. Obviously, the same thing at any company. If you're stealing product, or if you're low on productivity, or like you said, like kind of attendance to a certain extent does, will affect it. I think it's maybe like 2 days or 3 days of like no call, no show, or not showing up.
Oh,
like you
yeah.
automatically fired, which I understand that too, which was really difficult with the pandemic because, well, after the few months, because like at the beginning of the pandemic, people were lying, saying, they got COVID 3, 4, 5 times when they had never gotten it even once, because they were paying 10 days free, and, or even before that, they were, they were giving people unpaid time, like unlimited unpaid time. So people could leave for like a week or two, use unpaid time, and then come back. And I think that's one thing that it made it difficult for the rest of us, later on. So if we got sick, or one person that did get COVID, like they had COVID, and it took them probably, I think, like 2 months so because they had to prove pretty much that they had COVID. And that was the difficult thing, that I was like, yeah, this is crazy that they have to do that. But I think the only thing is that, like Antonio said, is that there's so much turnaround that I don't even really think they have too much like QC or as far as that. I think it's just like the major stuff. Like if people don't show up, obviously you're fired, or if they're stealing anything. But besides that, like I said, there was some pretty questionable people that were working there. So either way, it was.
But what did the hiring process look like for you?
Hiring process? It was, which I'm pretty sure is pretty similar to whatever the hiring process you went through. But it was just like you apply for the job. They don't really tell you, offer like what position you're going to want. It's just kind of like what warehouse you'd kind of be willing to work at. Mm-hmm. And then
there's only 2 places here. So,
well, they're open. They opened one up on Ina, and I think somewhere else. I think there's like 4 now that have, or I don't know if that one's open yet, but I think they're starting to hire people for the one that's on Ina, and I think there's another one. But yeah, it was, you fill out the application and you put in your resume, and then they had that questionnaire of kind of like, if this would happen, how would you react? Or, if this manager asked this, how would this, kind of the same kind of vague general questionnaire that they kind of give at the majority of, kind of any job interviews and stuff like that. Because there was no job interview. Once you pass the background check, like you probably kind of just got it. There was no interview for us.
Yeah, you don't sit down. And I didn't even add a resume to mine. I just applied for it. And then we went down to the one on this, like near the freeway.
Yeah.
And then you just walk in and the guy's like, okay, and I make sure your information's right. They take your picture and then they're like, we'll give you a badge and you start whatever day.
Yeah, it was pretty easy. Obviously, I don't know. Maybe they've changed the standards for that. But I think that's kind of the whole reason why it was anybody can really apply, because they don't really interview. They don't really, I mean, obviously have the background check, but they don't really have an interviewing process. And even, like I said, they don't really prepare you at all. Like the night you start, you watch a few videos on whatever job that they say you're going to have. Or even that, for that, we didn't have those safety videos. It was literally just, this is what you're going to be doing. This is kind of how you do it. Then, they send you out, and, the first night you're doing it. Obviously, you're doing it pretty slowly. And then the trainers walk around and they're like, oh, well, you have a consistent rate, but let's try to move it up. And they're trying to push you already to get to that, know. Because I remember when I first started, I thought I was doing decently. And I was like, oh, like, how much do you do? Because they're like, we do it, based off of hour, how much you can do it an hour. And I asked him, I was like, well, how am I doing? And, where do you guys usually end up? And then he told me, and I was like, dang. I was like, that's crazy. I'm like, you literally, it's the same thing of like when they talk about baseball, somebody was batting baseball, you have only like a certain amount of time, like half a second to even, kind of see the direction of the ball when you're about to bat. Not saying it's that little bit, but it's kind of, I think it's probably like 2-3 seconds that you have to be able to kind of look at the screen, look at where the product is, find it in the bin, and then start reaching for it to be able to grab stuff. Because they also time how many seconds from when the product pops up on the screen to when you touch the button saying like you put it in the plastic bin. I think when I was there, I think it was like 7-8 seconds that you had per product. Like I said, for some stuff it's easy, but if you have a case of water on the bottom shelf, you know, when you look at it, you have to, you know, kneel down or squat down, move it. Sometimes there's stuff in the way. Take everything out, pull it, put everything back in, put it in the bin, all within 7-8 seconds. And, you know, it's very, very difficult. I think that's the biggest thing too, why people were complaining that like, oh, you know, it's so much hard work, but because they timed you on everything. Like I said, when you went to the restroom, when you did everything was timed and they could track literally everything. So I think that's the difficult part about that.
Well, Tom is giving us a thumbs down for Amazon.
Thumbs
is there a
down,
reason why you have a Jeff Bezos tattoo on your back?
Why do you have Jeff Bezos glasses?
I actually got hired on Amazon, but I got a better job before I was supposed to start.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, you want me to say that again?
No, Tom was saying that he was hired by Amazon, but he got a better job. So, well, that leads us into our next segment. Thank you for all the information that you shared with us.
That was a long 40 minutes.
Incriminating information. Sorry for
on Amazon. I hope that's not the majority of the podcast, because then it'll be like,
oh no, I got a good segment after this. Let's just cut out Amazon Prince.
no.